A pleasant afternoon to you. Welcome to the program Nigerian Now, where we discuss burning issues that concern Nigerians and Nigeria as a country. My name is Sela Elisha Dasham. I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tanse. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Sela.
Well, quite a lot happening in the nation.
Yes.
We have the labor presently right now. Protest is going on nationwide in various states. Teachers all over. We have that of Oyo, we have Ogun, we have Abuja, having various, meeting points because they met at around 7:30 to actually start the protest. And quite a lot is going on. So far, so good. The protest is peaceful. And a lot of demand that they have made, telling the government a lot. I think one of the big issue is the issue of the removal of the fuel subsidy and also the living wage of, civil servants and other people, Nigerians as a whole. So quite a lot right now when you look at the labor. And then they had a lot, even though as of yesterday, a lot of people felt that maybe because the federal government were, begging them to actually try and consider with what is happening. But then we've seen that the president of the labor has put his feet down and said that this protest must go on. And he's actually been very, very emphatic about it because he said that this protest will keep on going on until the federal government does something, because he kept making reference to the president's speech that he made on Monday. And a lot of people said that if not because of the threats coming from labor, possibly the president wouldn't have addressed Nigerians. So they have actually gained one thing by knowing the fact that right now there's a communication between the federal government and the people, because at a point it seems the president was quiet about the entire thing going on, but then we heard the address on Monday. So I don't know, Rachel, quite a lot.
Yes, quite a lot has been going on, Sele, and I think that we've had a government that has been putting us in a position that makes even protesting difficult, and that's what we've been seeing. We can take it back to the past administration, because Sele, it's 2023 and it feels like what has taken place feels like a span of 5 years in this country. It's one hardship after another. We walked into the year 2023 with a lot of hardship, starting from January down to election, post-election, and now we are seeing this new administration bringing in more hardship on Nigerians. So I would say if the labor haven't taken any drastic decision by now, then I know that they're just posing there and we don't need them anymore. We should probably find a new Congress that will be out there to be the voice of the people and make the government come to listen to us. And for this protest, I will expect it to last as long as until when the government start not saying, not dialogue, not another speech saying, okay, on the 5th of this, we will start rolling. No, until the government start taking action, until we start seeing palliatives being out there, until we start seeing effectiveness of everything that the government have promised, the immediate things that will help the hardship to reduce on Nigerians. And then what I like about Labour is them bringing out their message, precisely what they want the government to do. And it means that this message is out there. You don't stop your protests until they are being met. And one of which might have been forgotten is that of the ASU. We know that there have been university lecturers haven't seen their 8 months salary that has been withheld because they went on strike, and the federal government used the court against ASU. And then Labour is saying, you know what, this is one of the demands that we need you to meet, and you have to meet it, Sele. And I know that a lot of Nigerians, they are the voice for us out there, and they are speaking for millions and millions of Nigerians. And I believe that Nigerians will want that also. And I'm looking at the reversal of policies also, of anti-people policies, Sele. And we cannot overemphasize this because you know what? There need to be a reversal of one of these policy that is not going well. You came out as an administration, and yes, you want to take out fuel subsidy, and you want unification of your currency. These are not bad policies, Sele, because you know what? We are tired of having double market, and when we hear the dollar is at 800 at the central rate, which is the CBN, we've never seen the dollar go above 520 or 40 thereabout, while we have it at the black market, as we usually know it, going as high as 700, 800, and there was even a time it was up to 900, and we saw how crazy it was at that time. These are not bad policies because we need them, but you didn't sit down to think we should go before which. Okay, fine, you've announced subsidy removal. Great. Why don't we wait? Let's have subsidy removal go. Then probably at the beginning of 2024, when you have started working on the refineries that you have saved from the money of fuel subsidy, and we have the Dangote refinery running, bringing out petrol for us at that period of time, then by the time things begin to run in regards to petrol in the country, then you now float the currency. Meaning we will no longer be at the position where we are importing oil and having an exchange rate that is being determined by investors and exporters. So we are now beginning to have production of oil in our own country due to the fact that the money that have been saved from subsidy, which you've recorded the federal government saying they've saved 1 trillion by now, you have started fixing refineries, and by the first quarter of 2024, we are having the Dangote refinery giving us oil in the country. We now have one among the 3 refineries that are not functioning giving us oil, which automatically means we will start reducing the import of oil into the country. Then now you can think about floating the naira at that time. So yes, we need to see a reversal of one of these policies. If you have said no going back for subsidy removal, then you have to do something about the exchange rate, about the unification of our exchange rate, because yes, international economies have seen that, you know what, we don't have the experience as it is now to want to unify our currency. And when you look at what things are going, we are not managing it well at all, because even when it comes to exportation, what are we exporting out of this country that will give our currency more value? We are still dealing with finished goods, I mean raw materials, which is still few, and we are still largely importing even the raw materials we use for manufacturing and even the goods we consume in the country. So we are at a disadvantage at so many levels, yes, Sele, when it comes to valuing of our currency and when it comes to exchange rate. So yes, I like the stand of the NLC, and I'm looking forward, Sele, that until 1 or 2 we see the government not coming out to give another speech, but rolling out the effectiveness. Let's us see that, you know what, households have started receiving this palliative. Let's see that there's been a review of these policies. Then before the Labour can step down and say, now we have a government that is listening, we can also listen to them.
You make mention of something very valid, and then I was opportune to listen to talking about the Nigerian Employers Organization as well as organized businesses, that we're actually looking at some of the effects of this protest to them, because they make mention or make point out to the fact that we remember during the hashtag EndSARS, which was a peaceful protest and then was eventually hijacked by hoodlums. At the end of the day, trillions and billions of nairas were being lost because businesses, properties were being burnt and all of that.
True.
And assurance came from, Joe Ajaero, where he promised that nothing whatsoever is going to happen, that the protest is going to be peaceful. We saw when the IGP read the Riot Act that anybody that is planning to do anything should be ready to face the full wrath of the law. And we saw NLC saying that it is a responsibility of the police to protect Nigerians. But then looking at this whole thing and all of that, honestly, I just hope that this protest gets the attention that it actually deserves. Because
yes.
believe you me, international bodies are actually watching. And we were mentioning the fact that a lot of things are going wrong in a lot of West African countries, a lot of coup coming up left, right, and center. And these are things that start as very minor, and then attention was not being given to it. And then before we realize it, somebody somewhere felt that the best way is for the military to take over. And then we know the way military regime oftentimes have been is the fact that people don't have the right to express themselves as they should be. So I am hoping that this attention or the protests coming from the NLC will get all it needs. Just like you made mention, they made their demands clear. So it's not as if it's a protest that does not have something valid. Already we make mention of the fact that our doctors are already on strike as it stands. And then this protest gradually is going to resolve into strike, because we've already seen that senior staffs of the petroleum industry are already dropping down their tools to join. We already heard that other bodies, organizations will be joining soon. The transport sector will hopefully want to join. But people, have made observation that what if the president didn't remove the fuel subsidy or all of these policies that are becoming too much? What if he had waited until we had ministers that would actually help to, carry up all of these policies the way it is? Possibly, maybe he would have had able hands to be able to help him to actualize all of this policy. We make mention from his speech, he said he's looking at an 8-month span. That is what he's looking at, because from August down to March 2024. And the question that will come to mind is that even the businesses he's hoping to elevate, how are you going to pick these businesses? What are the criteria that are being given? If you're talking about giving 50,000, are we saying that every local government is just one person that will be picked? How do you come about that? We have a very poor habit when it comes to implementation of policy in this country. Over the years, we've seen it when it comes to the cash crunch, the issue of changing the currency. There was a big problem. Good policy, very beautiful, but bad implementation. And we're seeing the same thing again, looking at some of the things the president said. But it's obvious it's not even a short-term goal, because we're hoping to see something that in 1 month, just like you make mention, families will say they have collected whatever amount the government is going to give them. We're hoping to see that grains are being shared. Even though over the years we've seen when grains are being given or something is being given, we see some few individuals, elite of the elite, keeping this for themselves, their loved ones and their families, and nothing goes to the poor Nigerian. And some of the placards that they were holding was the fact that they say tax the rich and subsidize for the poor. And we see oftentimes Nigerians are the ones paying, especially the poor. They are the ones always paying for some of the things. We saw over the years, or was it, I would like to say over the moons, some of the papers where the president kept saying that we should endure, Nigerians should endure, give us some time. But then how long is that time going to be? Even the minimum wage that you said will be increased very soon. How soon is soon? Already, we had a lot of states already on strike, or you shut down the secretariat since on Monday. They won't allow anybody to go in there until their demands are being met. Ogun was also on fire, protests. So I'm just hoping that honestly the federal government will give their attention to this body, and then let us see that everything will fall in place eventually, because that is what is the desires of Nigeria. At least, thank God, finally they are on protest. Other people have called in that they are just backing duck without anything. But we've seen that finally they have actually shown that they can actually keep to their word. So we hope that something is done on that.
When you look at the president's address, and no wonder we have the ex-vice president who have given their petition, still waiting, calling it a sham, When you analyze the address deeply, it is a smart one. However, it is very shallow in a lot of ways, because there's just a use of numbers in a funny way that if you are to break it down, you just realize that very few people are going to be reached. when it comes to this address and what the federal government plans on doing. Because if you are giving, and why this is more there to me is because every day, Sele, we have small businesses closing down. Now, these are businesses of people that are probably breadwinners, mothers, widows, old women in the market that feed from hand to mouth. These are the nano businesses we're talking about. Really, really small businesses. They're not even medium. They're not even small scale. They are nano, like, and you are giving 50,000 to these businesses. We're talking about 1,300, meaning at most one in some local government, and some local government areas may be able to get two, and you're talking about 50,000. And when will they receive it? Now, let's not forget that before this 50,000 get to some businesses, they've already shut down. So you're not even, there won't be some of these businesses that need it there. And then there's a lot of metric tons of grains here and there, 300 this and that and that. And when you break this down, you will realize that it's going to be really few people compared to the population of Nigeria. Sele, we are looking at, before this hardship, before these economic policies, we are looking at over 133 million Nigerians in poverty. And we have predictions that with the current inflation and what is going with our economy, we are having more millions joining to this number of people living in poverty. And you give out these figures and you realize that it wouldn't even reach to the quarter of the population of this country. We're not even talking about half. And we are still waiting for our census, and there's just so much speculation. But I know that we are a populous nation, and therefore if the government must reach, then we are looking at policies that would at least reach 100 million poor people. Let these things be effected, and let more than 50% of the very poor feel the impact. But when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of people who are poor, and your policies will not get to more than half, I mean, the things that you're putting out there as palliatives and help for hardship will not get to more than half of the very poor in your country, then you need to sit down and rethink and do what the poor will really feel that you are out there to help with the hardship.
Well, Rachel, let's just watch and see what this protest actually shows.
Yes.
It's just my desire that other sectors will not fall off because of the effect of this protest and also the strike eventually.
Yes.
Now, looking at the presidential election petition yesterday, both the PDP, the Labour Party gave their final address.
They did.
And they are waiting for the result, the judgment coming from the court concerning that, even though INEC is coming out to say even if a rerun is being done, the Labour Party does not stand a chance, because looking at the result in particular, the Labour Party came third. So if there's going to be a rerun, maybe it's going to be between the APC and the PDP. But quite a lot of argument, if you're going to look at it, between all of the parties. If you're going to look at what the PDP and the Labour Party are saying, is actually almost the same thing, because they're bringing out some issues that we had during the election. The electronic display of result was not there. Some of the results were being blurred. You were unable to have it. And then we even have where the president precisely is saying the fact that FCT should be included as a 37th state, just so that it will add up to the judgment. And a lot of things actually being clouded. You know, Nigerians are looking at the leaders they have elected in this election and then expecting quite a lot. But if you're going to look at the way the petition have been going, the back and forth, they're supposed to finish whatever they have to do concerning that this August, which was what was being promised. So right now, we are all waiting, hoping to see what will be the outcome. Is there going to be a rerun of an election, or are we going to say finally the APC are really the winners of the 2023 election?
You know, Sela, just like every other Nigeria, I'm also waiting for what will be the outcome of the tribunal and what will be the final judgment of the court. And we know that the court is not just the judge alone, but we have other people that are there to also help the judge in the decision. We have a jury for this petition, and yes, of course, and it's not just a one-man thing, because it would be tough for one man. However, looking at the evidence presented both by the Labour Party and then the PDP, we as Nigerians, we would like to say yes, INEC has wronged Nigerians. Looking at how much was put into this election, and knowing that one of the major reasons to why we had such a very high expenditure for election was for the electronic transmission of the results, and INEC assured Nigerians time and time, even when they were being cautioned, even when they were being asked, are you sure you're good to go? Are you sure you're ready? Are you sure Nigerians will get the outcome you have promised them? INEC, time with our numbers, told us that they are on it, and there would be electronic transmission of this result. It means that the moment the election started and there was no live transmission of the result, we are supposed to say this election didn't even hold in the first place, because this was supposed to be the outcome of the result. And this is one of the major things these both parties are banking on, that INEC didn't do that to give room for manipulation. And they wouldn't be wrong from that, because INEC, you have told us that electronic transmission was to not give room for manipulation. So when you didn't do the electronic transmission, it means you gave room for manipulation in so many ways. It's you out there contradicting yourself. And then now both parties have now given their final statement to the court, and the judge is reserving his comment. A date is yet to be given as to when they are to come back and hear what the ruling is. And we are hopeful and waiting to see that, you know what, the court really speaks the voice of the people, and truly with all evidence, hundreds and hundreds of evidence that have been presented to the court, that they will give what is called fair to the people, and then it will be out there. And even when it comes to running, if the court should rule that there should be a rerun of this election, I don't know why we should have just two parties in place, Sele. I'm looking at even parties above the Labour Party. I'm even looking beyond that, because you know what? Those were not the only parties that ran, that were
looking at the highest number.
Of course, they're looking at the high, but you know what? Let's have those parties there also. It's all about the ballot boxes, the ballot papers. Print them as they were, and let people put their thumbprint on what party they want to put out there.
Richard, that would be extra expenses for Nigeria.
So
the
like
time that we don't
printing.
even have the money, and we're yet to see audit of the money that was being given to INEC.
It's still the same
well,
printing.
just like you said, it's the same paper. But I have a concern, and it has been a burden to me, Richard. It's the fact that over the years, why do we always have the court determine who wins? Are we trying to say that the people don't have the right to say, this is the person we want, and then it ends there? Do we always have to go to court when something, because always when there is a court, we know that eventually it's a court that will determine who wins.
It looked like that was what INEC wanted. Because
but that is not, that is what I'm saying. It's a burden to me. And I know a lot of Nigerians have also raised the same concern, that each time we have elections over and over in the years, we see that we end up going to court, not just for the presidential, even in the various states. Presently, we have
a lot of
petitioners in court saying that this did not go as expected. We have that of Nasarawa State, we have in Plateau State, and other parts of also the country. People are in court saying that this did not go well with us. So I'm just looking forward to a Nigeria, Rachel, honestly, a day where when you go to actually put down your vote, you are sure that we don't have to go to court. Because over the years, when you say, I do not agree to say, let's go to court, the court now looks like a playground, when the court is supposed to be a temple of justice. But then we've seen that over the years, people just make light of the judiciary as if it's not an important thing. We saw the other day the way DSS, there was a fight in the court, and then people were surprised. This is not supposed to have happened, because it's a very sacred place that such should not happen. So honestly, I just hope this burden will be lifted off my chest. That we will see a time where when Nigerians go to the polls, it will be Nigerians' vote and not the court always determining.
Exactly, Sele, and that was why I made the statement saying it feels like that is what INEC wants, because Sele, who did you trust to do that for you? It was INEC. It was INEC that you trusted, that if I go to the poll and I put my thumbprint, I should be able to see my result. However, whatever observation was raised in the collation, INEC told everybody to go to court. Then it feels like that was what INEC wanted, because no matter how much I want a free and fair election, I don't have the power to give myself a free and fair election. We have an electoral commission with the power to give Nigerians free and fair election, and that was what Nigerians expected from them. You told us that a free and fair election will come through electronic transmission of the result, and you didn't come through for us. So yes, INEC have failed us in that area, even in as much as they don't want to agree with that, and there's that back and forth defending themselves on glitches which it shouldn't be in the first place, because that glitch was not recorded in subsequent elections. So what are your excuses? So yes, we trusted in them that they would be able to allow the voice of Nigerians to be loud out there, and they didn't come through. And now it's like we don't have any option but now to wait on the court to determine that. Then it feels like perhaps that was what INEC wanted in the first place, because they kept on telling everybody who had any observation to go to court.
Well, Richard, I hope that this narrative change very soon. We have
so.
Imo, Bayelsa, elections are coming in the next 2 months or so, and also with Kogi State. So I'm hoping that this won't repeat itself, that when people of Kogi, people of Imo who actually go to the polls, it will be that this is the person they elected and they got what they want. Because of course, when the when the righteous are ruling, of course there are shouts of joy everywhere. But it's eventually right now we've been having shouts of cry, wailing from Nigeria.
Yeah,
so
we've been
I
having
hope
that.
eventually Richard and say that things will actually work out right at the end of the day. Thank you so much for doing this.
Always a pleasure, Sarah.
Yes, and thank you our viewers for keeping a date with us on the program Nigeria Now. Until we come here again, do have a blessed day. Bye for now.